Dear brothers and sisters, you are most welcome once again to our platform, Tebi Talks. With you again is Francis. And right now, we're going to be discussing the components of a computer system. And I encourage you, wherever you are, please come and join me. I have to brainstorm. Come and join me, guys. If you have any comment, if you have anything to contribute, you're most welcome. And yeah, we're starting, guys. You're starting. Wherever you are, please come and join me. So okay, so we're going to be talking about the components of a computer system. So when we talk about a computer system, this is something which consists of several components that work together to perform various functions. So when I talk about a system, it means we are talking about something which has many components. And as a computer, it is a system which has many components. And these components, they work together. They work together to accomplish a certain goal. So we are going to be looking at these components which work together to perform certain functions and how they perform these functions. So number one, we're going to talk about the central processing unit. We're talking about central processing unit. We call it CPU. So the central processing unit is the brain of the computer system. This is known as the brain of the computer system. Like where you say human beings have brains that controls all other parts of the body. Even the computer has the CPU, which acts like the brain of a computer system. It performs calculations. The CPU performs calculations. The CPU executes instruction. It carries out execution of instruction. It executes instructions. And it coordinates all other activities of all other hardware. It also does what we call coordination. Coordinates other activities. So the CPU does three main functions. We've said that the CPU works like the brain of the computer. In working like the brain of the computer, it coordinates all other activities of other hardware devices connected to a PC. And then it executes instruction, like, of course, when you have a software, we say software is a set of instruction which tells the computer what to do. Now, it is the role of the CPU to execute all these instructions, and then it does what we call calculation. So we're going to look at the main parts of the CPU, one which is called the control unit, and then the other one, the arithmetic logic unit. The arithmetic logic unit is the one in charge of what? Of calculation. And then we have the control unit. The control unit is the one which does the execution and coordination of all other activities, whereas this one, it does all the calculations. So this is one of the main component and a very important component in the computer. The other component we are going to talk about is what we call the memory. Memory refers to the storage space used by the computer to hold the data instruction and the operating system. So we use the memory to store the data, and this data are in the form of the data we deal with every day. They are in form of the instructions. That's what we call the softwares, both the system software and the application softwares, like the operating system. Now, the operating system that we use every day, like the Windows, their files are stored into the computer memory. The data that we work on every day are stored into the memory. So there are different types of memory. We have different types of memory in a computer system. First of all, we said the memory is used as storage. That's what you have to know. We use the memory as a storage, and here we store data. We store data. We store instruction, like software instructions. So all this is the main work of the memory. So what you need to know is that we have different types of memory. Like we have what we call the random access memory. Like the types, one of the types of memory. We have what we call the random access memory, called RAM. So what is the random access memory? What does it do? The random access memory is a type of storage which provide temporary storage for data that the CPU is currently working on. For example, if you are doing some work in one of the processor, maybe word processor, now the RAM stores that information temporarily when you are still working on, but after some time that work will disappear, it will get lost. So this one will hold the random access memory. It will hold data temporarily. And hold data for the data you're working on. Then we have what we call the read-only memory, ROM. So this one contains permanent instruction and data which are essential to startup. So this one, the ROM, for it keeps permanent, it stores information permanent. And this one stores information like files, Windows file, or operating system files, or files which are necessary to start up a computer, like the BIOS. So all this, anything which is permanent and which is necessary for the operation of the computer is stored in read-only memory, whereas any information, any data which is temporary and which can easily be changed, like you can edit, you can delete, all that can be stored in random access memory or RAM. So apart from this storage, of course, these are the internal storage or the internal memory. We are going to also look at other external memory storage devices like the hard disk, the DVD drive, and many others. We shall look at that after. Then the other thing we are going to talk about is number 3, which is called the input devices. When I talk about input devices, from this word input means you are entering. You input devices which helps to input, to enter, So this one, the input devices allows users to enter data and instruction into the computer system. This one allows you to enter data into the computer system. The input devices allows you to enter data. You have to enter data inside the computer system. Why? For processing. we enter data inside a computer for processing. So imagine like, for example, this is our input devices, and this is our processor, and then this is our output. So assuming this is a keyboard, it can be a keyboard. So when you have a keyboard, you enter data from the keyboard to the processor, and now the processor is going to be the CPU. Now the CPU will do each and everything which is necessary to process. Once the data has been processed, then it will be output from the output, which is called sometimes the monitor. You can use the monitor to output, so, or the display. So that's the input devices. The input devices, they enter data into the computer system, mainly the processor, and the processing is done. After the processing is done, what follows is the output. The displaying of the information which have been processed, and we use devices like the monitor to display the information which have been processed. So we have main devices, input devices. Example, we have the keyboard, we have the mouse, we have the keyboard, we have the mouse, we have the touch screens, we have scanners, and then we have microphones, and we have cameras. So all these, they work as input. They input data. They enter data into the processing system, and then like the keyboard, you know how the keyboard works. It has the various keys, both alphanumerical keys, the function keys, the numbers, and so on, and other control keys. So when you enter, for example, any letter, say like from the keyboard, you enter a letter like A. This letter, which is a character that can be read by a human being, the computer uses the interpreter, and then converts this into a binary form of what we call the zeros and one, that is the bits, and then from there it will be processed inside the CPU, and then once each and everything is done, it will be displayed on the monitor. So the mouse is a pointing device which allows you to first of all point and open or do different actions on any file or any application. The touch screen, this works like when you're using like smartphones, or using like the laptops which are touch screens. You use that as input devices. We have scanners. We use scanners like you want to scan maybe a paper, you want to scan a document to your PC, then you can use that. Then microphone, of course, this works in multimedia, especially for capturing the voice, capturing the audio. We use that. And then we have the camera. The camera is an input device which takes both audio and video by scanning the colors, and then these colors can be interpreted into different binary form, and then from there you can get the output at the end of the day. So all these work as input devices. They are very, very important, because without any input device you cannot get output, you cannot process. You only process what has been entered, and anything to be entered have to pass through any of these devices. So that is the number 3 component of a computer system. Then the other component, which is number 4, is the storage devices. Is the storage devices. So the storage devices, here we talk about how data is stored and programs for a long period of time. So examples of storage devices, we talk about the hard disk. So here we're going to talk about the hard disk. Hard disk drives. Let me call it HD. The hard disk drive will have for what we call the CD and DVD. We have the CD and DVD. Then we have the USB flash drives. We have what we call the USB flash drives. So all these, they are devices which help to store. These are external devices which are used to store the data. Of course, when you're working with your computers, at the end of the day, you need to mind about how is your information going to be kept. How are you going to store the information that you've worked on? So you need to use these storage devices to store or to keep your information, and this can keep your information for a long period of time. So number five component is what we call the output device. So output is in other way like displaying, like once you've done the input, once you've done the processing, now what follows is the output. How is the data, how is the information seen, how is it like given to the end user? How does the end user like get the information which have been processed? So we use the output devices to do that. So the output devices normally they display and present the results of a computer processing to the user. And common output devices include monitors. Here we have what we call the monitor. Monitors, we have types of monitor, like we have the read, that is light emitting diode. Then we have the CRT, that's the cathode ray tube. All these are types of monitors. And then we have other output devices like the printers. Printers, of course, you know what the printer does. We have the speakers. And then we have projectors. Projectors, speakers, printers, and monitor. All these work as output devices. So like the printer, of course, is used to come to helps us to print the soft copy into hard copies. The speakers, like when you use a microphone to input data, which is your sound, the sound must be heard from a speaker. So the speaker works like output, whereas the microphone works as an input. The projector, this one displays your information from the system to the projector screen. Then the monitor, we said the monitor is like the screen. The monitor, we have these screens, the one which is called the light emitting diode. Then we have the cathode ray tube. The cathode ray tube is the earlier version of monitors, which had the tube in between, but right now the flat screen, you see, they are called the light emitting diode. And then number 6, the other number 6 is what we call the motherboard. Not fatherboard, but motherboard. Don't ask me why is it not fatherboard. I don't know, but the other component which is also important in a computer system is called the motherboard. So the motherboard is the main circuit board of the computer system. This one is called the main circuit board. is the main circuit board of the computer system. It provides connectivity and facilitate communication between all other hardware components. All these components we're talking about, the input devices, the output devices, are being facilitated by the motherboard. So the motherboard does that facilitation, that communication. It enables communication between all these other devices. So by doing that, the CPU, of course the CPU, the memory, the storage devices, and other peripherals are all connected to the motherboard. All these peripheral devices, all these other external devices, even the CPU, they are all connected on this circuit board, which is called the motherboard. So the motherboard, the main work of the motherboard is that it provides connectivity, and facilitate communication and coordination of all other devices. Don't mind about my handwriting, as long as you can get the point. So we are saying the motherboard, it provides that connectivity and facilitating the communication and coordination of all other devices inside the computer, because all these other devices, they are connected on the motherboard, this circuit board. So all the communication starts from the motherboard, and then it moves to others. So apart from that, we have the other component, which is number 7, and that is called operating system. Operating system. What is the operating system? The operating system is a software component. I repeat, the operating system is a software. That's the short form for a software. It is a software component that manages and controls the computer system resources and provide an interface for the user to interact with the computer. So the software component. When I talk about software, I say the software is a set of instructions which tells or which controls all other activities within the computer. That is to do with the hardware. It tells the hardware what to do. So now that set of instructions or that software component that manages and controls, because we have two types of softwares. We have the system softwares and then the application software. The system software is what we call the operating system. Actually, the other name of this is what? Is a system software. The system software. So the system software or the operating system is it controls. The main work of this is that it controls. It controls all activities inside the computer. Controls all activities inside the computer. Then the other type of software is the application. The application for it, these are like the application we do every day. The mobile apps, the website, all application that perform specific tasks. So the difference between the OS and the application is that the OS controls all the activities, whereas the application software, they perform specific tasks. So, well, for you to have a computer and say I have a computer which is functioning, which is working, it must have also an operating system. This operating system can either be Windows, it can either be can be running Windows, Linux, can be running like maybe if it is a mobile phone, either Android or iOS. All those are what we call the operating system. So reason why, because the operating system is the one that will coordinate each and everything. It is the one that will control each and every activity within the computer. And then of course, now apart from the OS, now you must also have what you call the softwares, which are in form of applications softwares. Application softwares, this one mainly do specific tasks. So you need to know this. As application software, they do specific tasks. Example, we can talk of Adobe Suite. When I talk of Adobe Suite, I mean like Adobe Premiere Pro, Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Dreamweaver. Photoshop is for photo design, images and what. The Premiere Pro is for video editing. The Dreamweaver is for programming, writing codes, HTML, CSS. And then we have the After Effects and Illustrator. All those, they fall under Adobe Suite. Then we have like Microsoft Office. The Microsoft Office, I talk of the Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access, all those they lie under. So when you see like Microsoft Office, now what Excel does is different from what Microsoft Word does. So as even on Adobe, we said the Photoshop is for designing photos. The Premiere Pro is for editing videos. The Dreamweaver is an environment for programming. So you realize that all these applications, all these softwares were designed to perform a specific tasks, and they are called application softwares. So as a person who is using a computer, or as a person who need to use computers, you need to have all these components. There are 8 components, and maybe to add on, of course, you will need like networking, or all these will work into what we call the network. They have to work together. Working together, that is connectivity. How they are connected, the different configurations. Of course, we talked about input, how are they connected. We talked about printers, we talked about microphone. So all that configuration, all that arrangement, how they are connected to each other is what we call the network. So when you have a network, when you have application softwares, you have the operating system, you have the motherboard, you have the output devices, you have the storage devices, you have the input devices, and then you have the memory, the internal memory, ROM and RAM, and finally you have the central processing unit. Then you can now say that I have what we call a computer. These 9 the main what we call the main components of a computer, and they are the one that help you to do whatever thing you want to do on a computer. So there are so much fundamental components, and we are going to look at how they work together. We shall look at the other additional components, such as the graphic cards, the sound cards, the network adapters, the power supply units, and we shall see how all these can work together. And maybe we'll also make a video to show you physically each of these, like when I talk about the motherboard, how does it look like? When I talk about the keyboard, how does it look like? And talk about the monitor, what is that? So I'm going to make another video to show you how all that, but you have to keep in mind that these are what we call the main components of a computer system. So for now, we're going to stop here, guys. Thank you for paying attention, and remember to share this video, subscribe and like. Then let's always be together as we follow this class of computer training. I know by the end of the day, by the end of the year, you get skills that's going to help you in whatever thing you're doing. Thank you very much, guys.